Hey everybody, it's me, Laura, the Egg-Centric Egg Lady, and today we're going to go ahead and do the coloring bit on my Blue Flax Flower Project. And here I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Prismacolor Premier pencils. I am using a cobalt blue hue here, and then I'm going to use a Mediterranean blue and then my powder blue. With the exception of the Mediterranean blue, both of those pencils have got a light fast rating of 1, and then the Mediterranean blue has got a light fast rating of 2. I'm going to go ahead and I'm putting it down pretty dark right at the point there on the flower, and I'm going to do that with each of these flowers. And then I'm going to put down my Mediterranean, and I'm going to blend my darker cobalt up into that, and then the last one, my powder, will be on top of the Mediterranean blue. And I'll bring in my blender, my Prismacolor Premier blender, and blend all of these colors together on my paper. Now when I bring in my blender here, I like to blend kind of from the dark on up into the light, depending upon the blend. So if I had yellow with some magenta, I would probably go the opposite way, mainly because I want to have some of that yellow really kind of show up. In this case, it really doesn't matter too much because it's all the same color. You know, you're dealing with blues, just a number of different blues. And if I really wanted to, I could always lighten it up with a little white down on the powder blue, but I'm just going to go pretty much with what I have right here. The other part I wish to mention here is my paper. And usually for me, I always like to go to my sketchbook first and sketch things out. And usually that's in a black and white format. It's just a spiral bound kind of, sketchbook for myself. I love it. I love to be able to just do black and white in there. But when I do that, it doesn't transfer really into color for me. So, and I like that because the reason for this is that if I keep my sketch untouched and in a black and white format, I can then go in later on and scan my image into my computer and then print it out on whatever printer paper I want. Whether it's like, for instance, here it's a Neenah cardstock paper, which I really like. I like to use that with my color pencil. So that's what I'm doing here. The other option that I like when it comes to my black and white design is that I have the freedom then not only to choose what kind of paper I want to print out my design on, but also let's say I want to do a number of duplicates of that design so I can figure out what kind of colors I want to use. So here, I'm using my blues, but let's say I want to use some yellows or reds or whatever. I'll have a few of those I can go ahead and print out and then bring in some of my other colors. Another reason why I like to go ahead and scan in my original black and white image is because I can come in later then, and also, like you can kind of see in the corner here, I scaled that image down into a smaller version of what I originally had. In this regard, I can go ahead and, not only use different colors and stuff as options, but maybe I want a smaller image and I don't want a full-fledged big piece to go ahead and color in all the time. I could go ahead and keep it small. And the nice thing about keeping it small, remember, the end project here, the end result to this design is that it's going to be put on eggshell. And unless you're working on an ostrich egg all the time, which many of us will not be, you want to be able to scale the image down so that it will fit on eggshell. Some of the designs you create on paper, if you've got an 8x10 sheet of paper or even larger or even smaller, even 5x7, you got to make sure that that image is going to be able to transfer onto an eggshell surface. Okay, so right here we're going to go ahead and fill in our green on our leaves. And notice here I'm using a grass green and I'm using my chartreuse in Prismacolor. And with these two colors, I'm going to go ahead and blend them together, giving me a nice leaf look. At least I think so. I don't know. I just like how these two colors blend well together. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start shading in our oval area. And I have a cool 50% gray, I believe, and a slate gray. And I was just going to do my slate, but the more I was looking at these two colors, I thought, no, let's just go with the 50% gray and we'll work with the slate a little bit later. But for right now, we're just going to go ahead and lay down that cool gray. And you'll notice I'm doing some of my cross hatching here. So I'll take it in one direction when I bring my stroke in, and then I'll go back over and go the other, making a really nice cross hatch that I can blend. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and start blending with my Prismacolor pencil, with my blender pencil. But when I do that, you don't necessarily have to use that. You can also use some of those paper stumps that they have. But when I go into blend, especially on this oval, I try to make sure that blend is really well done. So I really go over this quite a bit just to make sure that most of that color seems very soft and very smooth, right into the center area where my blue flax flowers are. Okay, here we're now going to start working on our ribbon feature in this design. And notice here, this is where I'm bringing in that slate gray. I don't know what it is about this particular gray, but I absolutely love it. I think probably because there's just a little bit of a hint of blue in it. And then I decided too, I was going to bring in my cobalt blue hue pencil again and add in even more of a darker blue hue, right, coming right from the point areas on that ribbon. And, I really loved how it came about, and that slate kind of helped it where it gave it the grain necessary, where it wasn't just pure blue. Okay, so yes, I forgot to swatch. Usually I would do this at the very beginning. You would rather, go ahead and swatch your colors out ahead of time. So I'm bringing in my cobalt blue hue, my Mediterranean blue, my powder blue, and then I'm going to bring in my grass green, my chartreuse, and my grays. And, I'm putting this all on the side here just a little bit to show you what the colors look like. This is something I would naturally, like I said, naturally and normally do at the very beginning of this particular piece. but I thought, no, we'll go ahead and put it at the end. And the nice thing about this too, the reason why I swatch out my colors is not only just to check on blends and stuff, if I like that blend for the project, but if I go ahead and swatch it out, and if I have it with the picture piece like I do here, it also reminds me to write down exactly which pencils I used. Because you can go ahead and do a whole piece with whatever colors you're using, and then you're like going back later saying, wait a minute, what did I use? What colors did I use to create this design? So it's really important to not only swatch it out, but yeah, write down the numbers or whatever pencils that you used in the first place. So again here, I'm just swatching out, but this part right here is really touching upon the blends that I'm swatching. So I do have my colors down separately, telling me which colors I've got, but here I'm also taking certain colors, blending them together, and that way then this is my tell of like, okay, this is what I used. Okay, so here is the end result of doing my Prismacolor Premier pencils with my design. I hope you will use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.